AJ and Angel Baby.
It seems like Chicago now really has a new talent of MCs, a new pool that's coming out, that's emerging. You got your Chief Keefs, Rocky Fresh. What do you feel like? Is it a new Chicago that's on the scene, or do you feel like it's something that's always been there, but it's just never had that light been shed on?
I don't know too much about Rocky Fresh. I kind of heard him here and there, but I heard he just signed a MMG. And I just heard Chief Keef just signed an Interscope.
Right.
I don't know. Chief Keef scares me. Not him specifically, but just the culture that he represents, specifically in Chicago. And I don't speak this about any other city because I'm not from there. But like my family lives in Chicago. So my now nephews and my cousins and my friends and my peoples, they all in those hoods that he represents. When you drive through Chicago, the hoodlums, I don't want to call Chief Keef a hoodlum, but the hoodlums, the gangsters and the ones you see killing each other and the murdering the murdering Chicago is skyrocketing. When you see who's doing it and perpetrating it, they all look like Chief Keef. They got dreads, and it's so visceral. When I seen him, I was like, oh my God, he looks just like Chicago. And then he looks like my nephew, and he could be any kid on the street. And then to hear the things that he raps about specifically, with comparing it to you open up the newspaper and there's 22 shootings this weekend, and then the next day there's 3, the next day there's 4, and you know who's doing it. It scares me. It scares me to see that, that it scares me.
Right.
It's not fully thought out. It's not, my explanation of it isn't fully thought out, but just the initial feeling of it scares me, because and I said this when I was on the radio in Chicago at every station we did. It was just kind of like, I understand where he's coming from, and I understand his struggle, and I'm not at him, I'm at where he came from. And that places like that still exist, and they incubate that mentality and incubate that whole thing, and that incubator is working overtime right now, and it's just sending these kids to slaughter. And so, truthfully, that portion of it scares me. But it's always been there. We've always had that in hip hop. We've always had that in culture, in the black experience from the beginning of time. We've always had that kind of piece. And I'm assuming that somebody who was like me 50 years ago saw somebody like, what Chief Keef represented and was scared too. And somebody 100 years before was scared too. Somebody 50 years in the future would be scared too.
Right, like it's a chain reaction.
Indeed. So,
okay.
It's nothing new, but I'm scared that it's nothing new.
Well, dang, I don't. You got something else?
No, I can say this though. I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah, but people don't take it seriously, because if it doesn't affect you, when it comes to the point where that the kids who are doing the killings, and they're kids, 13 to 19 years old, and you can replicate that in New Orleans and replicate that in Oakland. All the kids look the same. They got dread, little Haiti. Everybody looks like that. But to know that those are the kids that are doing the killing, and then you take one of those kids
and make them
celebrate that kind of politically correct thing to say, but when you're at high school speaking to students, trying to tell them how to survive in the summer, and you turn on the radio and you hear that, you're like, oh no.
AJ and Angel Baby.
Rap attack.